What is the most disgusting secret you're hiding right now? We had a candy corn counting contest in like 4th or 5th grade, where you guess how many are in the big jar. When no one was looking, I carefully took the tape off the top thinking I was going to count them all or something, and saw that they had written the total on the inside of the top, so, being a genius, I took out about 30 of them, ate the evidence, and put my guess in for the number -35, you know. So it wouldn't be suspicious if I got it on the nose, not realizing they weren't going to recount them. The winner guessed it within 20 of the number on the bottom of the lid. So basically, I cheated, sabotaged, and still lost, and I kept all that stupidity to myself for all these years. As a small child, I ate an old piece of gum from under a bus seat. I'd really like to exchange my mouth for a new one. Edit, who gave me the award, I wanna say thanks. When my sister was younger, probably around 2 to 4 age range, whenever she did something I asked her to do, I gave her a dog bone, as a reward. She never listened when we were younger, but as soon as I started giving her dog bones, she was a different person. It was great. This was almost 20 years ago now, and I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for my meddling mom asking why her breath smelled like dog food randomly. When I was younger, I would steal coins from my parents, and when I had enough, I would bring them to my dad and have them changed to paper bills, and he would be so proud of me for saving coins that he would buy me ice cream or sweetbread. My younger brother used to eat the dog food because he thought it would make him better friends with the dog. We began to leave a bowl out for him next to the dog bowl. A majority of the time, the voice in my head first thoughts are just really unnecessarily mean. Towards myself, but especially others. Even those I care about. Extremely nitpicky, selfish, rude, etc. thoughts. I don't understand why. Sometimes it leaks out into the real world on its really bad days, and I'm just an ass. It makes me feel pretty bad about who I am as a person sometimes. Because I really just want to be a lovely person and think the best about others. And I don't feel like a good one very often because of these thoughts. I guess maybe up meant nasty equals disgusting, but it feels disgusting to me some days. Edit, I truly appreciate everyone's suggestions and information. Thank you very much. Your first thought is what you have been conditioned to think. Your second thought defines who you are. Did you grow up with a critical or mean parent possibly? If you think something mean, just stop your brain and say, no, that's not fair to them, and here's why. If you say something mean, just apologize right then and say that was unacceptable. What I should have said was eventually the second thought will begin to take precedence over the mean one. Hope this helps. My one friend has no idea that I've known that he doesn't have kids for months, also that I know he's been saying this and lying to everyone for attention. He tells a very convincing story. He goes into vague details, has a photo of the girl, says that she's been showing him fake paperwork as proof for the children. If what he says is true, it would be literally extortion. Everything. Little does he know that I've been watching closely and also researching to find this woman. I know she isn't real, and that he's lying, and been lying this whole time for almost a year. Nothing he says makes sense, and it just keeps escalating, which also doesn't make sense. I literally couldn't help myself but investigate. If everyone finds out that he's been lying this whole time, it will spread like wildfire. He doesn't have many friends, and the friends he did have stopped talking to him because of his compulsive lying. Edit, holy crap, this blew up. I'll try to get to as many comments as possible. I had a friend like that in college. I talked to him about it, and while he took it super hard at first, I gave him examples, and he broke down. It turns out he had been so severely bullied for his whole life that he had absolutely no confidence in being able to attract and keep people in his life without those lies. It took a lot of time and work on his part, and me kindly and patiently reminding him when he slipped on my part, but he changed. I gained a solid friend as a result of my being willing to stick around and work with him through it. It was a life-changing experience for both of us. I have a friend who has faked pregnancies for 15 years. Faked having a baby in a hospital birth, everything. Said the baby died, etc. I know she's lying, and called her out. She keeps lying she's due for a set of twins in July a few years ago. Never did meet those cuties. When I was 8, my 19-year-old cousin tried to make out with me. I remember him rubbing my leg and kissing me in the kitchen whilst my mom was in the living room. I didn't understand what was really happening at the time, but I knew I didn't like it. I kept nervous giggling and pushing him away. After a couple of minutes he looked disappointed and walked away. I don't remember if he ever tried anything else. He was killed in an accident 3 years later, and I chose never to tell anybody, as I didn't want to add to my aunt's grief. Edit. Oh my gosh, I was not expecting such an overwhelming response. Truthfully, I never realized how much I needed to just get it off my chest. Thank you all so much for the love and support, it really means the world. Edit 2. My cousin was not named Fire, and he didn't die in a fire. I am just a redhead. I used to lie. Like a lot. I used to make up stories, to tell people, just for the sake of it. I don't do it anymore, although this leads me to telling the same stories over and over. Uncle confided in me that he stopped taking the medications that are keeping him alive because he can't handle the weight of his life. Currently trying to be there for him as much as I can, but haven't told anyone, because I feel like it's his choice, and I'd likely want the same in his situation. He's just worn out and feels like he's done his time, and has already done what he can for the people around him. When I was in middle school, I was being bullied physically and mentally, quite bad. My grades dropped, and my mom got upset, so there was this period of fighting before we got into therapy together. The worst thing I've ever said to my mother was I wish I had been a miscarriage, like my older brother. Mom and I are very close now, and I'm back in therapy for different issues. During lockdown, my sister had a meltdown because she thought I had stolen a pair of nail clippers shaped like a foot that she owned. I told her, truthfully, that I also had a pair, and that she had stolen mine. They actually were hers. I found mine an hour later. Rather than tell her, I gave back hers and said if they mean so much to you, you can have them. I then hid mine in her bag when she went back home after lockdown. She got there and found the 2 nail clippers, and now believes that she was wrong, and that the nail clippers she had a meltdown over were actually mine. In biology class we were dissecting a pig's eyeball, and my hand slipped, and the eyeball fell on the floor, and me being extremely lazy I kicked it under a cabinet, and it lay there for 2 years until someone finally found it. I secretly broke a 2,500 euros printer. That is rare and precious. I just fixed it just enough that the second person using it got blamed for this and almost expelled from school. I made up a person. When I was in high school, I wanted to sound more popular, so I made up a guy friend. He had an incredibly interesting backstory. This went on for years, well into college. I had the same friends, so I couldn't just end the charade. The funny thing is, all of these people, my family, my best friend, even my husband, believe that they met this man. I never introduced them to anyone, but over the years, they all have different memories of seeing him. Finally, I just sort of phased him out, saying that we grew apart and lost touch. And yet, people will randomly ask me for updates on him. I just give vague answers and watch my husband smirk from across the room. My husband is the only person who knows the truth. I am so ashamed that I will never admit it. That lie was such a dumb thing that snowballed, that there is someone on my Facebook who is lying about her dad passing of cancer whilst her eldest daughter, 8 years old, is fighting a brain tumor. It is all lies. Her dad is alive and well. Her daughter is completely healthy. One of the pictures she used as proof is her daughter lying on a hospital bed. From what I know, she was just in for observation after a small fall. She has 2 Facebook profiles. One for all her family and friends of the family. And the second one, that I'm friends with, is for old school friends, general acquaintances, and anyone she dates, etc. There's so much more lies, but those 2 ones are the ones I know 100,000% to be false. Edit. This went a bit mental. I tried to confront her, this was last year, and she denied it. Going as far to provide screenshot messages between her and her sister. However, the reason I knew it was bullshit was by speaking to her mum and passing on condolences. Yep, didn't go down well. Her mum accused me of being mistaken, until I showed her screenshots of the posts. She didn't reply. That's when I confronted the liar by message, countering her screenshots with the ones between myself and her mum. I was swiftly blocked. As far as I know, she's still lying. She's had several miscarriages, cervical cancer, dad dying, daughter fighting cancer, and many more. I'm completely blocked from all her socials, so I can't say for certain if she's still lying. I did tell her to get help. I admittedly took it very personally, as my dad had passed away not long before she lied about her dad, so it hit a nerve. She never admitted to it. Never explained. Instant block. So fuck you, Natalie S, for being an attention-seeking knob. And Edit 2. Ironically, I have had several people send me directs accusing me of lying about this. Happy to provide proof to mods. Although this happened last year and a half ago, I will reach out to local professionals for advice to make sure her 2 kids are safe. Sadly, I didn't consider the possibility of her lies escalating and putting her kids in actual danger at the time. I'm ashamed that I didn't contact professionals sooner. A buddy of mine had a wife that used to be a stripper. She ended up leaving him for one of her patrons. Before she left him, she was impregnated by him, my buddy. She ended up marrying the guy she left him for, and the newish dad is basically raising his kid. I'm still friends with both of them on Facebook, since I was cool with both of them, and her son definitely looks like him. This was maybe 7 to 8 years ago. I just shut the fuck up about the whole situation. I was molested and raped for like 5 years by me neighbor, and went on a mission to convince myself I wanted and loved sex in a sick attempt to take back power, but just ended up letting other older men abuse me for most of my teenage life. I got addicted to drugs and I still feel like a 10-year-old boy, and everywhere I look lately I see me as a kid. In the reflections of windows on the black screen of my phone looking out at me in horrible nightmares, it's like my mind has finally snapped. I can't even brush my teeth in silence because it feels like 100 voices are in my head screaming at me, and my hair has started falling out in lumps. I don't know what to do. I feel like a diseased animal, but I don't know what to do. I don't know who to tell or how to even begin changing and becoming the man I should have been. My life is ruined, and I don't know how to stop self-destructing. I just wish it never happened, and that I could be the boy I once was before he ever touched me and ruined me. I drew a massive penis on the ceiling in my art classroom, probably a meter long, and it's been there for years. I asked friends who have brothers and sisters there, and they say it's still there. It's been like 8 years now. Honestly, I haven't told that many people about this, so it's nice to get this chance to vent a bit. When I was around 5 I got raped by my older brother's friend, who was around 12 or 13 at the time. My parents didn't report it because they'd get in trouble with the police, and when I called my mom out on that bullshit, she said that she was worried about how people would view us. Currently 15, kinda confused because I'm planning on doing something when I leave the house, but there's no evidence at this point, so it's just my word against his, and honestly not really sure whether my parents will take my side if I do take a stand. Only my rapist's parents, my parents, and my younger brother know. Edit. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention my rapist was babysitting me at the time. I have no idea how many other people he was babysitting. Edit 2. Thank you everyone for all the kind words of encouragement and advice. After a bit of thinking, I've decided to report my rapist once I leave my parents' house. I was not expecting anywhere near as many people to respond to this, and I honestly was just venting my frustration about it, expecting nothing to come of it. Thank you ever so much to everyone for all the replies. I dropped a human brain once in prep class and put it back like nothing happened, and everyone was wondering what kind of head trauma that person died of. Edit. Holy shit, I didn't know I could make so many people laugh. Thank you for all the upvotes and awards. That is really not necessary. I figured I add the specifics here quickly, because I am a little overwhelmed with responding to so many comments. I was a teaching assistant to the professor for human anatomy and preparatory class. Part of my job, I studied biology and am a trained preparator turned mortician, and am specialized in reconstruction, was to prepare donor bodies for upcoming classes. I would receive specific orders from the professor, what kind of grossing tables, which body part, what kind of class, etc. I am not a MD or even thought about being one. I'm just a basement dweller that makes a living off death, and I am grateful to do so. I pulled off an all-nighter playing Call of Duty, and went to college the next day. Needless to say, I was so exhausted and sleepy. While riding back from college, I fell asleep on my moped and crashed into a bush. Luckily, I didn't hit another vehicle or get hurt. I didn't tell anyone this because I was too embarrassed. P.S. If you ever feel sleepy while riding a vehicle, please call someone to pick you up or take a cab. Let my mistake be a lesson for everyone. As a teenager, I was abroad with my class. I shared a room with 2 other girls. One morning I went to the toilet and take a dump. I was shocked as I saw that the toilet flushing was not strong enough to wash it away. I panicked. So I grabbed it with toilet paper, wrapped it around and throw it as far as I could out of the window. Edit. Oh, thank you, you Taco Panda 15, my first award ever. May your poop never clog your toilet. I occasionally went to a convenience store when I was a kid to buy some stuff that my parents ordered me to get for home. They almost never gave me allowance at the time, so there was that brand of Jello candy which was in a wrapper. I'd open it a little and take from the candy every time I visit that store. One time, I got caught, and a worker there accused me of stealing, and when he searched my pockets, he found nothing, although I was storing some in the same pockets that he had searched. It was a close call. My younger sister was with me at the time. I felt disgusted from myself back at the time, and since then, I never stole anything under any circumstances. I got nudes from my best friend's mom. Edit. Sorry, I've been at work and don't have my Reddit notifications on. Yes, I saved the pictures. Yes, I still have them. Edit number 2. During my senior year of high school, last year, I got bored and horny and decided that I would try and get some nudes from her since she was always kinda attractive. I think she was a little drunk, but anyways she ended up sending me a few and she allowed me to save them. My friend doesn't know that this happened. There was also a second time I got nudes from her. My senior prom was in 2010. After prom I had a party at my parents' cabin just outside of town. Later that night I found my boyfriend having sex in my car with my volleyball co-captain. I didn't confront them, but instead went to his car, which was only 2 or 3 weeks old, and took a shit in the passenger seat. I wiped with some napkins he had in the glove box, and put them in his cup holders. I went back inside and kept drinking. My dad's affair with a man roughly my age. My childhood with my parents was traumatic and physically abusive enough. I'm too detached to tell my mom or siblings. Also, if you're expecting a text from the hot young stud you plan to bone, maybe don't leave your phone on the restaurant table while you go to the bathroom. Edit. The gay part isn't disgusting. The being a lying moral, Bible-thumping sack of shit is.